Hello, fans, and welcome to the first 2023 episode of High and Tight. I'm John Nolan, the PBR Virginia DC Content Manager and Northern Virginia Scouting Director. With me, as always, is Jason Burton, the PBR VADC Scouting Director. And joining us on this podcast is our special guest today, Tim Mary, the Executive Director of the Virginia Baseball Coaches Association and the head coach at Trinity Episcopal School. Gentlemen, welcome today. How are you guys doing?
Good morning, guys. Doing great.
Doing good, Nolan. Doing good, Tim. Vacation. Vacation is almost over.
Yeah, we had a good week out here in the Arizona desert and ready to head back to the East Coast. So I'm ready for baseball. I love golf for 4 or 5 days, and then I've had enough.
That's 4 or 5 days more than me.
Did you at least hit them straight while you were golfing?
Straight, sideways, up, down. It's like if we can get my pitcher's balls to move like my golf ball moves, we'll have something.
Oh, all right. Well, gentlemen, we are here together today to announce PBR VADC and the VBCA Commonwealth Classic. This is our inaugural spring tournament. We are going to feature 8 of the best teams in the state for the coming calendar year. It's going to be an annual selection process that our PBR staff, as well as Coach Mary, the executive director of VBCA, will take on every year in an attempt to create the premier spring break tournament in the Mid-Atlantic region. We will include a mix of public and private schools from all corners of the Commonwealth and DC and really the Mid-Atlantic region in an effort to get the best matchups and the most talented players on the field that we can for a couple of days. This year's tournament is going to be based in the Richmond area, and the long-term plan is to hopefully maintain it in the central portion of the state to make it easier for everyone across the state to access. Tim, VBCA's goal is to unite, educate, develop, and support. How do you think this tournament is going to highlight those pillars?
Well, I tell you, guys, just like anytime you can get good coaches in the same vicinity, in the same room, great things happen. And there's tremendous coaching talent in the state of Virginia, and we're trying to provide a format where these coaches can get together and play each other and learn from each other. And so that opportunity to share and grow and compete and learn is really what we're about, and hope that again this year and going forward, we can provide an opportunity for these great teams and great coaches to get together in one place and showcase talent on both the players and the coaches' end.
Sounds outstanding. Jason, any thoughts? Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I think that, obviously the goal of the tournament is to, you know, have the most talented players and teams, like you had said. But I think in addition to that, it provides kind of some different opportunities. A lot of times these players, for various reasons, these players and teams and programs will play the same people every single year, because of district schedules and region schedules and whatever those kind of challenges are. This year, and we'll go through the matchups later, but this year, I think we looked at it. Every single matchup are matchups between teams that have never played each other, and I think that offers kind of that different feel for teams where you're in a state tournament and you're playing teams that you don't usually play, and you're playing against players that you don't usually play. And if anybody here knows it, I think us three know that that gives the game a different type of feel. A lot of these players, play with the guys who live in their same area all the time. And I think when you can get outside of that area and kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit, it creates a different type of environment.
Absolutely. And as everyone knows, it is very difficult for college coaches to get out during the spring to see players because of their schedule. This tournament's going to allow a maximum amount of exposure for the players on the field while they are competing against some of the best players from different regions, from outside of their normal area. Our PBR staff will be on the site at all these games, covering these games. We'll continue to show why we are the best source for high school baseball coverage and high school player coverage in the state.
John, I just mentioned again the thought in working with Jason, you guys is, it is an inaugural event, and we're very excited about that. But the long-term goal is to provide a viable spring break option for teams in across the state, not just Central Virginia, even though it'll be held in Central Virginia, to have an option to play in a very competitive tournament without having to travel down south or wherever they might to do that. And I feel like, as Jason already knows, we've gotten a tremendous amount of interest of folks that want to get in it once it's sort of the word started leaking out. So again, our hope that this becomes maybe a 4 or 5 day event and attracts all the good teams and provides a good option in state for, again, the best coaches and some of the best players in the state.
No, absolutely. I know a big thing that we talk about when we're doing the Power 25 every week is trying to balance private versus public teams that haven't played each other. And at least in this year's field, we're going to get a chance to see a lot of these top teams play each other head to head in this tournament. And that's hopefully the goal going forward. I know personally, I don't particularly love the idea of driving to Myrtle Beach or Charleston to have to see some of these teams on spring break. And I know it's nice down there, but I'm sure they'd all love to stay in the Richmond area. Jason, anything else you want to add, or should we go ahead and get on to revealing the field?
No, I mean, I think the only thing that really would, touch on just on the format and setup of the tournament is, yeah, this year is 8 teams. Um, you got to start somewhere. Tim and I had many, many discussions about that. We kind of got to start from somewhere and grow. Hopefully long term, if the situation allows, that we will grow, to a 12 or 16 or 20 or 24 team tournament or something like that. um, but for right now, it is 8 teams, and like you said, it is an annual selection process. I know a lot of tournaments will bring in for a spring break tournament. They'll bring in the same teams every single year. We've had those discussions, and that is not the plan and not the intention for this tournament. It's to bring in the best teams, the best players from across the state on a yearly basis.
So, without further ado, let's go ahead and unveil the 8 teams that will be part of the inaugural PBR VBCA Commonwealth Classic in 2023. In our first round matchup, we are going to bring down from Warrenton, Virginia, the defending VISA Class 2 state champion Highland Hawks. Coach Micah Higgins and his 2023 Highland School team will make the trip south to the Richmond area where they will take on another Hawks, the Hanover Hawks. Like Highland, Hanover is also a defending state champion. They won the VHSL Class 4 state championship year, which is the Hawks' fourth state championship in the last 9 years. Highland's state championship was their first in program's history. So we got a pair of defending state champions in that first matchup, Highland and Hanover. Burton, Tim, any thoughts on that game?
I love the Hawks versus Hawks, Jason. Good job there. And again, I think it'll be a great matchup. I mean, we had fortunate at the VBCA convention, uh, Coach Higgins and Coach Kane, along with Coach Wright from Freedom, who on our state championships panel did a great job. But there's 3 teams, and I remember Coach Ryan from Benedictine, who was the moderator there. Those guys were 78-6 cumulative last year, so that's a lot of wins in one season.
There's a couple, so it's a little bit of success. Um, Yeah, I mean, I like this matchup. You got a ton of talent on both teams. I think obviously the interesting piece is going to be Hanover lost a lot off of 2022's state title team, as did Highland. And I think it'll be interesting to see some of those underclassmen. The seniors bring that leadership and that kind of that calm before the storm. They can kind of slow the moment down, and then those underclassmen tend to bring a little bit more fire sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think personally for me, in a slight reversal of fortune, usually Hanover has been like the home of all the arms in Virginia. And it's actually kind of looking at Highland. Like, I'm going to have to go see Highland in an early scrimmage this year just to see all of their arms. Plus, we get to see them in this tournament. So we'll see them as well. But they are deep, deep, deep on the mound. So it'll be, for me, a little bit interesting to see there. Tim, you were talking about Coach Ryan and Benedictine. And let's actually go ahead and talk about them next as we're going to go ahead and go to our next matchup where once again we're going to have private school facing off with a public school, and we're going to stay a little closer to the tourney site here, and it is going to be Benedictine and Coach Ryan, his cadets, facing off against the 2021 VHSL 5A state champions, the Frank Cox Falcons. Coach Ittner, the head coach there, and Frank Cox Falcon boys are coming off yet another strong campaign. They're going to get a premier arm back to bolster their state title hopes here in 2023. So, any thoughts, you guys, on Cox versus Benedictine as our second matchup in the first round?
I tell you, John, again, starting with Cox, Matt, Coach Ittner, just, again, a program builder. He's a lifelong learner and, love that guy. And he's just doing things the right way over there. So they get better every year. We were fortunate to play them last year and had a nice home. Their field is nice and, again, do things right. Obviously, Benedictine is a perennial contender, and Coach Ron is the best of the best in the state, and he always has some dudes over there, and they compete and get after it. So I think, in my mind, it's kind of the new school versus the old school. Not that there's anything new or old there, but it's just kind of Benedictine's been around, and you know what you're getting, and Coach Hittner's building a program and a young powerhouse over there. So it should be an exciting matchup there as well.
Yeah, no, I think that this is a fun one. Like you said, a little new school, a little old school. I like that one. But I mean, Benedictine, I know they had some losses with Corey Adams and some of those guys from last year. Uh, but I think you got to look at who they're returning. A healthy Daniel Lingle, Yagan Ratliff. They also have two new faces coming to the program. Corey Adams' brother, Bryce Adams, who is a reclass and transfer into the 24 class, I believe. Um, and then Elijah Costin, who is also a transfer over from Thomas Dale, an uncommitted, two premier uncommitted guys that'll be fun to watch. And then you have some of the big time players that Coach Ittner has over there. Two really good programs who are really strong every single year. And so that will be a fun one as well. And the plan is right now. I know we're not going to get into sites and times and all that stuff, but those are two games, that hopefully will be going on side by side simultaneously. So it should be fun.
Absolutely. And we will announce some of those sites here in the future once we have them completely finalized. The matchups are set. We're floating between a couple of sites. So the top half of the bracket, we've got Hanover against Highland. We've got Cox against Benedictine. Let's move to the bottom half of the bracket. We're going to have another team from the beach, another Richmond team, another Nova defending state champion, and another Western Power. And let's go ahead and look at our third first round matchup. And it's going to be a big time one between the Freedom South Riding Eagles and the Miller School Mavericks. So Coach Wright's defending Class 6 champions, and then Coach Wagner's Miller School Mavericks. Coach Wright and Freedom are going to return the majority of their team, and they look to be one of the on paper favorites in Class 6 again. Um, and then the Mavericks ended the season. They lost on a walk off in the Division One state championship game. Coach Wagner's Miller School team is again going to be extremely talented. They've added a new faces, and they should be challenging for the VISA state championship again this year. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on Freedom versus Miller School?
I tell you, John, Coach Wright, I've just gotten to know a lot better over the last couple of years, and you talk about a dude that's all in, and again, doing it the right way. And I'm not sure what the history there is of the program. Forgive me there, but I know that he's got it going on right now, and just he's the kind of guy that develops players. So when you pair that against Billy Wagner, right, who is, again, it doesn't matter what you're playing with Billy, you're going to be in for a fight, whether he's got it fully loaded or not. And I think that's what Jason mentioned earlier. This is great for baseball in Virginia. Like, I know Miller School well because we play them, right? But I don't know Freedom. We don't have an opportunity to play them. And it's just an opportunity to just uh, showcase two great coaches and two great teams, and let the state and recruiters or anybody else see, what's on both sides there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that uh, on paper, Freedom is one of the best teams in the state. Um, but when they face off with the Mavericks that day, like Coach said, that Mavericks team is a scrappy bunch every single year. They're going to show up regardless what Coach has on the mound or who he has in the lineup. They're going to fight tooth and nail. Um, so I think that Miller School lost a lot off of last year's team. Um, lost a lot of talent, but they bring in some new faces, especially on the offensive side. And then you have Freedom returning a powerhouse offensive lineup and some depth on the mound. So that should be a good one as well.
100% Freedom bringing back the Class 6 Player of the Year, Butash, the Penn State commit. You've got Prohl, you've got the lefty. They're going to be loaded on the mound. That should be a hell of a fun game. And I will say, I remember from the VBCA convention a few weeks ago, it was Friday night in the before the Hall of Fame banquet. Uh, Coach Wright was hounding me trying to find out who his first round matchup. He's like, "Who we playing? Who we playing? Who we playing?" Like, I don't know yet. I can't tell you. Who we playing? Who we playing? Who we playing? It was absolutely hilarious.
Man, I love the competitiveness of these guys. And again, John, that it was really impactful. Not to get off track here, but the Hall of Fame, banquet social there, it was. I knew it was going to be a cool thing, but I had no idea it was going to be so impactful and so in touching. And when you see those grades up there and the competitiveness and the respect that they have for each other, and there's nothing they want to do more on the field than beat the other guy's ass. But when they, as soon as they get off the field and the stories they tell and the camaraderie, I love it. And Coach Wright is a fiery, competitive dude, and Coach Wagner's a fiery, competitive dude. So it's going to be, fireworks galore there. I love it.
Yeah, forget the game. I almost just want to videotape the home plate conference when they exchange lineups. Let's be honest here. All right. And then our fourth and final first round matchup is going to be between a pair of longtime historic programs that, as far as we know, they've actually never met. There's plenty of college players and eventually draft picks that have come from these two programs. So the talent should definitely be there again and should not disappoint. From the private school side, coming from Chesapeake, we've got Greenbrier Christian Academy. The Gators won the Vista Division II state championship in 2021. They were the runners up in 2022. They're going to have a talented squad again this year. And they're going to be taking on from the Richmond area in Class 5 the Mills Godwin Eagles. The Eagles have a loaded and deep pitching staff, and they're going to make a run or challenge to potentially compete for a state championship in Class 5 this year. So in our final matchup, we've got Greenbrier Christian versus Mills Godwin. Gentlemen, any thoughts?
John, again, I see too much of Greenbrier Christian every year when we play them, and they are a traditional powerhouse at the beach, and they're going to have a good team every year, and they're going to have some dudes on there. The thing with Greenbrier Christian on the private side is with Coach Nichols and Coach Younts, you have got your hands full, right? Those are baseball dudes. They're as good as they get. They've done their homework, right? They do their charting. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff that they've used, that they've shared, which is great. The thing that baseball coaches do, but they are students of the game, and nothing goes by, right? They're very prepared every time you play them, and you're going to have to beat the team, and you're going to have to beat the coaches there in terms of strategy for the game. So again, it's those guys are well prepared, right? And then the beautiful thing is, even though we're not far from Godwin, I do not know those guys well. Again, have gotten to know Coach Gentry here recently and really like what I see. I know of the history of them, but I've never even seen them play. And I think that's a beautiful thing is, again, this matchup of powerhouse versus powerhouse. And, let the fans see what's out there.
Nah, I mean, I know that Coach Mary, y'all retweeted it from VBCA, and I was actually just looking at it. Godwin and Greenbrier, number 1 and 2 in draft picks, uh, from 2003 to 2022. That 19 or whatever 19-20 year span, whatever it is. Number 1 and 2 in MLB draft picks, whether it be out of high school or long term out of college. 19 draft picks in the last 19 or so years between those two programs. So again, talent rich, um, a loaded pitching staff with Mills Godwin, which should be very, very deep and potentially one of the best pitching staffs in the state, if not the best, versus an athletic, scrappy bunch. Coach Nichols, he always brings a fire. That's for sure. Him and Coach Younts, they bring a lot to the table in terms of knowledge and talent and competitiveness with the Gators.
You know what, John and Jason, we might be great. We need to get a cameras focus on the coaches during all these events because we get a highlight film of that for the ages. But we may not be a G-rated thing after we get done. We may have to be some editing, but it'd be a great one.
Editing can be a thing that happens, but I like where your head's at. Just forget pointing a camera at the open side of a hitter. We'll just point it in the open side of the dugout.
Yeah.
Looking looking at looking at this list, and again, this you can't see anything. I guess 3 players and below in terms of draft picks, but just between Miller School, Hanover, Greenbrier, and Godwin, I think there are 31 draft picks in the last 19 years, just between those 4 programs. And that's not including that, like Benedictine's not on here. They had Jamari Baylor. Obviously, I would imagine long term that Jay Wolfick will be added to that list. Um, and obviously others as well. Over the next few years, but yeah, it's a pretty impressive group of teams that should be really fun to watch.
No, absolutely. It's going to be a ton of fun. We don't have a tournament time slots or location exactly yet, just that it'll be in the center part of the state. So again, Highland, Hanover, Benedictine, Frank Cox, Freedom South Riding, Miller School, Greenbrier Christian, Mills Godwin, all on a field in one place. It's going to be Saturday, April 1st, Monday, April 3rd. In the central part of the state, it's going to be a loaded field. Any last thoughts, gentlemen?
Uh, Guys, the great thing, at least again on the private side, the conference play starts the week after that, and I'm guessing that similar on the public side. So, again, what better opportunity to match up against somebody that know that you're gonna have to coach against a great coach and bring your A game to play to get prepared for your run into the conference tournament. So I think the timing is fantastic. Really excited about this. Again, shout out to Jason and you guys for the coverage and the work that you do. And if I need to know something about a team or a player, that you guys are the first ones I call. So great job.
Thank you, Coach. Jason, any other last thoughts?
Yeah, is April 1st here? Can we
Is it
get to
here?
can we get to April 1st, please?
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we've got
Yeah.
some other stuff to go on between now and then. There's a couple of weeks of high school baseball before April 1st as well, and we've got some events too. And we'll get into those later at another time. So, again, I want to thank my guests for joining us today, Jason Burton, the PBR Virginia DC Scouting Director, and Tim Mary, the Executive Director of the Virginia Baseball Coaches Association and the head coach at Trinity Episcopal School. Thank you for joining us today on High and Tight, gentlemen, and we'll see you here in April for this spectacular tournament.
Go get them, guys. Happy 2023.